morning. My name is Elizabeth Rawls. I'm the publisher and editorial director of Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles magazine. And we are thrilled to have Shanna Bradley here with us this morning. She is with Ansley Real Estate. She's been in the industry for over years, but she's been with Ansley for more than 4 years. In 2020, Shanna was the #1 individual agent at Ansley, as well as the #2 individual agent in Atlanta, which is especially impressive for such a crazy year during the pandemic. Shanna is driven by finding the perfect match for her clients and for their families. And I have to say that I've seen Shanna at work, both in my neighborhood and through her work with some of my friends. And she really, everyone who works with Shanna thinks that they are her favorite people.
Oh,
And I think that that's a really great quality to have. And I that's in part a reason why she's been so successful. Before we hopped on this call today, I talked about, how crazy the 2021 spring market is today. And so Shauna's going to share some of her feedback that she's seeing this spring and also her recommendations for buyers and for sellers. So Shauna, let's get going. Tell us what you're seeing right now in the market. Is it a seller's market, buyer's market?
well, the market has gotten a little crazy these days, and it's definitely been a huge seller's market. And that is, I think the reason behind that is because so many people are moving to Atlanta from all over right now. Our city is so desirable for people, in New York and Boston and California, and and the cost of living to them here in Atlanta is so inexpensive. So, and they feel like we have really good quality of life here, which I think we have really good quality of life here too. And our climate is it's easy. We don't have harsh winters. And so we're seeing a huge uptick of people relocating here right now. And that, along with our regular spring market of people within the city moving around, has just made it extra competitive for buyers. There's just not a lot on the market at all. We have about 1.6 months of inventory on the market right now, and a balanced market is 6 months worth of inventory. So it's just, it's very competitive for buyers right now, and sellers are being able to sell for higher prices right now with multiple offers in a lot of cases.
Well, and speaking of, the buyer demand kind of being greater than the inventory listed, has that led to a lot of quiet sales, a lot of quiet selling?
Yeah, yes. And it's so funny. A lot of my sellers want me to sell their houses before they're listed because it is a little bit easier on them. Um, because people have kids and dogs and all those things. So it's easier just to get it done. But I will say, I've been telling people lately, my sellers, that we could sell it quietly within our networks. I'm constantly networking with other agents and buyers in the area. So we all know what we have going on. So we all know what listings we have coming up, what buyers we're working with. But I do think you get the most bang for your buck once you're actually listed, because I know a lot of people in the area, but I don't know everybody in the area. And we get calls from people once our listings go live. I get calls from people from New York, from California, from all those places that wouldn't have seen my listings if they weren't online with all the pretty pictures and the videos and floor plans and all those things. So, I think people that don't actually list are missing opportunity, and they are missing maybe even a higher price than they would have gotten if they sold it quietly, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. And that brings up another point too, because I know in 2020, it was, more than half of the homes that were kind of bought sight unseen because of the fact that you're talking about, that buyers were moving in
Yeah.
from out of town because people were nervous about allowing people into their homes. So how are you beyond, a pretty, photos and videos and that kind of thing? What are kind of the new technologies and strategies that you're seeing to appeal to that out of town, or, an audience that's nervous to come through in person?
Well, and I will say that's gotten so much better now. I mean, a year ago, everybody was nervous, but now people are doing a lot more in person I mean, everybody I'm working with, I don't feel like anybody's uncomfortable to go into people's houses right now, and people wear masks and take off our shoes or whatever the sellers want us to do. But if I have an out of town person call me, then they are seeing online, they're seeing videos, they're seeing Matterport, floor plans, that it's kind of a dollhouse deal where you can walk through a house by clicking your mouse, basically. And so you walk through the house, you can actually get a sense of the flow of the house, the floor plan, things like that. So that's really helpful for out of town buyers. And videos are really helpful for them too. I do a lot of FaceTime phone calls with out of town buyers. So, if they want to do that before they come in to town, we FaceTime first. And that way they get a sense of the area. And then we do a lot of neighborhood pictures and descriptions too. I think that's important because people want to know what kind of neighborhood they're moving into and what kind of amenities the neighborhood has. So we want to make sure to put all that in our listings as well.
Okay. Okay. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about too is just how home buyers and just in general since the pandemic, our priorities have changed. And you
Yeah.
and I went over this earlier, but for instance, maybe instead of his and her closets, it's his and her office space. Or, I've also heard that COVID is going to bring the demise of the open floor plan. Can you talk a little bit about what is really major selling points, whether it's in town or people relocating?
Well, I will say the his and hers closet thing. My husband and I would not be still married if we didn't have a his or her closet and her closet. He would not be able to share a closet with me. But yeah, so a lot of people are working from home now. So recently, so I've been doing this for 11 years. So for the past 10 years, people have been saying, I want an open floor plan. I want to be able to look from my kitchen to my living room, and I want to see my whole house from my kitchen. And now recently, people are telling me that they don't want that anymore. They want more rooms. They want more spaces. They don't need more square footage. Really, they need more spaces. So they need spaces for his and hers offices, and kids. A lot of kids are back in school now, but they have to be virtual. Every now and then too. So you got to have space, homework stations, and flex spaces, and basements, and so like I said, people are moving around within the city that are already living in the city because they just need different spaces in their houses now. And of course, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but outdoor spaces are really important right now too.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I'm hearing, obviously everyone now wants the outdoor living room, and thankfully in Atlanta right now, this is the perfect
Oh,
season
it's
for us to
perfect.
start
Yeah.
getting outside. But what's going on with pools and wedding and guest houses and
I'm telling you, almost every buyer I get under contract right now, if the house doesn't have a pool already, they want me to get a pool vendor out there to meet with them about putting a pool in, and they want to make sure that a pool can go in before they move forward with the purchase. So that has been a huge. I mean, everybody wants a pool right now. I feel like, and the good thing about Atlanta is you can swim 7 months out of the year or 8 months out of the year, your kids can swim in the pool. So pools are huge. We just did a big covered back deck at our house. That was our COVID project with like that outdoor fireplace and everything. And so that's been really fun. Fire pits. I've got a client right now, a couple of clients that they really want sports courts for their families. So that's been big. Also, gardens and places for chickens. Chickens are really popular right now. I just think people want to have hobbies that they can do at their houses now. And so,
right?
all those things I think are really important.
I feel homes are kind of really becoming our own personal resorts because we
Yeah.
spent so much time at home last year.
Yeah.
Because people are still a little bit leery of going into more public spaces because people are being careful about gathering and being with each other. And so, yeah, I do think the outdoor fire pit, the outdoor dining room, the outdoor living room is going to be really important. And then at the magazine, we've seen follies, and just exterior structures make a big comeback too.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
whether it's like an art studio or a
Yeah.
guest house or even, work an office space. People are needing their privacy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people
Uh,
will go back to the office, I know, but maybe not ever, some people might never go back full time again. So they may always need a separate structure or a space, away from their house to be able to work and do art or whatever they want to do. But yeah,
Right.
it has changed. I mean, the past year has changed what people need in their houses more than I've ever, more than we've all ever seen.
Right. Well, and speaking of, different priorities in town, can you speak to like second home markets at all?
Oh gosh. Those have I don't think they have if you think Atlanta doesn't have any inventory of houses on the market, those secondary home markets really don't. People really if you've been thinking about a lake house or a beach house or a mountain house, a lot of people have been thinking about that. But I think the whole change last year really prompted people to go ahead and jump into that market and have that getaway where it's their own place. They can go with their families, they feel safe, and they can get away from everything if they have to. Or really, like when the kids aren't in school, you can work from anywhere right now, so you can go to your second home, you can go sit by the water, and that's been huge in the past year.
Well, we had a lot of friends who went to, basically spent the early part of it and shelter in place, in a second home market.
Yeah.
Are you seeing anyone who's looking to make the move full time out of Atlanta and into these markets, or is it still more of a
Um, a few, I would say one out of 20 people that
okay,
I work with are moving out of Atlanta, and they're moving to places like Milton has become popular.
okay,
Um, some people are moving to Athens, some people are moving to, Lake Oconee, or I've had some of that, but I mean, they just want more land. A lot of people think they want more land. They want, more hobbies at home, maybe some horses. I mean, all sorts
right,
of different things. But yeah, we are seeing people move out of the city for
okay,
sure, but not a ton. Sure, a lot more people are moving within the city and into the city than they are moving out of the city right now, from what I'm seeing.
right, or maybe just more to the suburbs as opposed to the second home markets, or
Right. Yeah. I think the second home market, to live there permanently, would be a little tricky.
right,
Um, but yeah, a lot of people are moving to the suburbs.
okay. And then on the flip side, how about the condo market? What is? Can you speak to?
I mean, the condo market is strong, but it's never as strong as the single family home market. And I have a couple of condo listings right now and they're selling, but the sales cycle is longer than it is with single family because I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm thinking that a lot of people might not want to be in a building with a lot of people right now, and they want their own spaces instead of common spaces. So, the condos are easy. I mean, you have concierge, you sometimes have valet, you have people that can do every lock and leave kind of situation, especially if you
Right,
have a second home somewhere
right,
else. I mean, they're easy, but it's just that market is not as strong as the single family market here right now,
okay,
for sure.
okay, interesting. And then let's get back into potential sellers. So right now we're probably in the thick of the spring market, or it's
Mhm.
about to start blossoming. But how far in advance should homeowners be planning before they put their house on the market? And maybe you can speak to which areas they should maximize their budget, and just what buyers are expecting right now.
Um, depending on what they need to do within the house, I think they should at least start at least 30 days before or more, because contractors and painters and handymen and plumbers, they're also busy right now because people are doing so much at their houses in general. So we've got to be able to get people lined up to get in to get the house spruced up to sell. So we've got to I mean, typically people do have to bring in painters and handymen to knock out a few things. But if they need to change countertops or do different backsplash or things like that, the kitchen's really important right now. So because people are cooking at home more. So I mean, to have a beautiful kitchen is so important in this market. And buyers don't really want to do, like I mentioned before, they're paying top dollar right now, and they don't really want to do any work once they buy a house for the majority of the time. and people are busy, so they don't really have time to do a lot of work. So I think even changing cabinet colors, if lighting things up or changing countertops and backsplash, I mean that kind of stuff is really important right now. And so if you need to do that sort of thing, then I would start 45 to 60 days out, just getting the house ready to sell. And you get a lot of bang for the buck when you do that kind of work to the house.
Right. I'm hearing that a lot of the trades are just so slammed right
Yes,
now.
ma'am. Mhm.
Yeah.
Luckily, if my painters and all those people, when I have a listing coming up, they will fit people in. So if I tell them, I'm working with Elizabeth and we need to get a few things done before we list the house, and then my painter will squeeze you in and fit you in and get it done. But it still takes a little bit of time. But
Right. But I think, like you said, getting it done on the front end is so important
yes,
because, with inventory being limited and with people paying top dollar and with, sort of these long lead times, the last thing people want to do is move in and then have to wait on some of these things to be done.
yeah, exactly. And people want to know that they're buying a house that's in good shape. So if they walk up to the front door and they see wood rot around the door or frame or anything like that, then they might think that the house is not in good shape. And the house could be in great shape, but there could just be, $100 fix of wood rot around the door. And it just kind of throws people off a little bit. So just doing those little touch up things before you list, it's just so important and so easy. And I always want people to not think of the house is in bad shape, just because of a few little things.
Right.
It's
And
all
so,
about perception.
what about going back to the kitchen? What are sort of the amenities that you see as sort of either the bare minimum that you need to have or just a must see for a certain level? For instance, like a walk-in pantry or
Oh yeah.
a bar or
I
that
mean,
kind
a lot of people want two dishwashers now.
of.
Two
Okay.
dishwashers, walk-in pantries. Some of my listings, which a lot of people have like I don't the caterer's kitchen kind of situation where you have another kitchen tucked away behind an area and you have an extra refrigerator and dishwasher and things like that. And so that you can be back there doing things too. So that's been huge. Of course, people always need double ovens and islands for people to sit at. A lot of builders are doing double islands now. So you have like a prep island and then you have another island for your guests to sit around. Um, I think double everything right now is kind of
Well,
what I'm
I know it
seeing.
is interesting. I do feel like since people have been a little bit more careful about going out to eat in restaurants, that the in-home chef business has been booming.
Right, and so when you have that caterer's kitchen behind your kitchen, that's been, great.
Right. Yes. And then you can bring that right outside to your outdoor living space and
Yeah, exactly.
gathering.
Cool. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
You're making
gosh.
me wanna throw a party.
I know, I know. Well, I have just a few more points, but I want to invite our audience to go ahead and ask any questions that you might have, either in the Q&A box or in the chat for Shauna. And so, what is your prediction, I guess, for the rest of the spring selling season? I mean, do you think that as the people, as vaccines start to roll out to everyone and as people become a little bit more optimistic about being out and about and gathering, do you foresee more inventory coming in the market or?
I still think we're gonna have inventory shortage, problem, issues in Atlanta for the next at least probably 2 years, just based on the amount of, people that are moving here. And, so even though people are getting more comfortable with things and going out and everything, Atlanta's still such a companies are moving here, right now. People are moving here, just to move to a different city. And Atlanta's just been really popular for out of towners. So it's going to be a couple years on inventory.
And is it still seeing the relocation factor play a big part in sales?
Not really. Well, I mean, we're seeing some used to, I guess probably companies will start relocating people more as everything gets opened up more and everything else. But right now, people are just relocating just because of personal preference. A lot of people.
Okay.
And I mean, we have an awesome airport and it's easy for people to get anywhere from here.
Right.
So they're choosing to come to the city. But yes, I mean, I think more and more we'll see more corporate relocations like we always have.
Okay. Okay. And then how are some of these rising prices, do you think, affecting like first time home buyers?
Well, the good news is the interest rates are so low. And so that helps people afford more just because of the interest rates. And so, first time home buyers there's still a ton of first time home buyers out there. And I think since money is so affordable right now, I think they're still able to get into the market. And luckily in Atlanta, within our city, we have so many different pockets and neighborhoods and price points that you could still live in the city for all different price points. So, which I think is wonderful. I mean, you could live in Peachtree Hills for 500,000 and move, right across Peachtree, and you'd have to pay for the same house, you'd pay 1.5 million. You know what I mean? But there's different areas that you could get more for your money, which I
Right.
think is nice for first time home buyers.
And do you think, that urban element, is important, that walkability factor, or, the neighborhoods that are in town? Do you think they still have a leg up in terms of,
I mean, you know what? They always have. People do like walkability, but I will tell you, people now, I'm seeing more people want more privacy and more land.
okay,
So that's kind of been the trend the past couple of months.
interesting. Okay. And we do have our first question. It's what paint colors and tile choices would you say are popular with home buyers?
So I would say people still really like white and sleek, and Elizabeth could probably answer this even better than I could. But I guess the paint colors that people always are using to get their house ready to come on the market, they'll do like white dove on the walls, colors like that. But I think once you actually live in the house, I think color. Well, Elizabeth, you know this too. Color has gotten a lot more popular. Wallpaper, wallpaper your dining room or your powder room and rooms like that. That's been really popular lately too. Um, but yeah, so I like that color is coming back. But when I put houses on the market, they typically do just people want to see white walls still. And so and tile choices, I'm not sure about tile choices. I think it depends on which room. If you're talking about bathrooms, and people still love marble tile and it's just beautiful. But so that's kind of what I'm seeing. Elizabeth, what are
Right.
you seeing in that?
It's funny. I'm not going to comment, I think, on paint colors inside. I think a lot of the show houses, for instance, that we do are very neutral. And that's because, the architecture is so new and interesting. And it just, you're not having to sort of put lipstick on a pig, so to speak. But
Yeah.
I think what I see, and interested in your perspective, is so many houses. So we're in the Peachtree Park neighborhood, but I see this all over Buckhead and Atlanta. The brick houses are being painted white.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I've never seen so many brick houses. And all of a sudden you drive down, you're like, wait a minute, that has to be red.
I know. And
But
I'm working with builders right now, and they're like, "Well, we're tired of seeing painted white brick houses, like for new construction." And they asked me what I think will sell. And it still is painted white brick houses that will sell,
really,
So yeah, and I'm ready. I'm kind of ready for a new trend now, but that's still what's selling the best.
really.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And then another question is the farmhouse look out?
Um, I mean, it's trendy. So I would say if it's not out yet, it probably will be in the next couple years.
Okay.
It depends on the area, honestly.
Right. Unless you're in Milton.
If you're in Milton,
Yeah.
I think that is going to be this. I mean, that's just kind of the style there. But if you're in the city, I think there's it'll. I don't think it'll stay. I think Atlanta within the city is more classic and more timeless than that. And I like the farmhouse look, but I do think it's a trend, and it probably won't be here for a lot longer with new
Okay.
construction.
Okay. And how much square footage should potential sellers or builders allocate to offices?
It depends on who's working from home. So I think um, if there's one person working from home, and I would do like a whole like I don't know what the square footage is on this, but I guess just like a regular 12 by 12 bedroom size, like 500 square foot room for an office, and definitely with windows. I mean, I hate to see, I've got a client right now that her husband's an attorney and he's working in the basement and literally has no windows in his office. So that's kind of depressing. So I definitely think windows and a nice size room and built-ins are important in an office. And I think, like for me, I'm in and out so much that I work out of my car. So for me, just having a nice desk area somewhere, not even, doesn't even have to be in a room. I think it's important to definitely have some desk areas. And I see a lot of people with homework desks, like built-in desk and like a common space on the floor that their kids' bedrooms are on. That's really nice to have too. So the kids can have their own spaces for homework or virtual school or whatever. It's nice to have those desks, even if they're not in a room.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And then how about, we have a question about what are the current master bath requirements? I'm not quite sure what they mean about requirements, but
Yeah.
maybe what sells in master bathrooms?
Yeah, I think it's the same as it's always been. So double vanities, his and hers closets or two closets, walk-in closets. I love when I see master baths with the built-ins, like the beautiful built-ins in between the vanities or on the side of the vanities, for extra storage space. And I think that's great. People still, even though I feel like a lot of people don't use a bathtub, people still like to see a bathtub in the master bathroom, um, and big showers.
Mhm.
So, and it's of course a separate water closet. Everybody wants that.
Um, and then a comment about demise of the open floor plan. The question is, it seems like divided spaces are coming back, and I think we touched on that a little bit with the privacy earlier.
Yeah.
So you think that the open floor plan is sort of
I mean, I still have people every day tell me they want an open floor plan, but more and more I'm hearing people say that they want separation so that they don't hear, nobody's complaining when somebody's cooking in the kitchen and the other person's on a work call. And so, yeah, it's just, it's interesting to see right now when you walk into people's houses, how they have set their houses up um, for these times. I mean, you'll see desk and dining rooms right now,
right,
and
right.
kids' homework stations like in the middle of the living room. So, I mean, people are just making do right now. And now I think that's a reason why a lot of people want to move. They want spaces. But yes, not more people are, I don't, when I'm having people over, I would prefer people not to look right into the kitchen. Anyway, but yeah.
Right, to keep it separate. Yeah, I think, what we touched on earlier, just the privacy, whether it's because of conversations that are, work sensitive, or
Yeah.
just the kids having privacy. I mean, my kids, at least, it's cool for them to have the headphones on when they're
They do love those headphones.
learning. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's just so much. We're using our houses so much and in so many different ways that we never had to before. And we're around each other more than we've ever been. So I think that is becoming important. All right, let's see. Um, Shauna, if you were sitting on a house that you live in and love and doing the economics on math or if to sell right now, knowing you'd overpay for what you would buy next, what would your advice be to people thinking about selling be?
Um, I mean, I feel like I'm in this boat right now because I'm like, God, we should sell our house right now. I mean, it's such a good market, but I think that's another thing that is holding up our inventory levels because people don't know where they would go and what they would buy, and they might overpay for the next thing. Um, I kind of have if there is a house right now that has been on the market for a while, honestly, over 30 days, then it's probably priced too high. So I would probably watch those houses and keep my eye on those houses because those are some that you could probably get for better deals right now because yes, people are paying a good amount for houses, but they're not going to people still won't overpay for houses. So keep your eye on inventory that has been sitting for a while. And if you have, whoever your agent is, they can help you navigate through can you go in and make a lower offer that maybe you might not think they would do, but a lot of people do need to sell. They're not just putting their houses on the market. They actually need to sell. I would look at houses like that. And also, I do have clients right now that are selling and they're just renting for a few months until things die down a little bit. And typically there's less buyers in the market in the fall, because a lot of people want to get settled before the school year starts again. So you could sell right now when the market's so hot and rent for 6 months and just kind of take your time looking and then buy in the fall when there's less buyers out there. That's kind of what I'm seeing and what I think about that.
Okay. Let's see. How much new technology should be in the kitchen for buyers, like touchless fixtures or just in general smart home features?
It depends on the buyer. I mean, my husband loves that kind of stuff. And the new construction houses, a lot of builders are going ahead and doing, making the homes smart homes. And I think it's nice because we're all busy, and the more and more we are out and about, it is nice to be able to turn on your oven from your cell phone and to heat things up and to have timers and all of that. I think it's important. I think it's important to have those because we're always on the go, and to be able to control things from your phone, and I'm not that tech savvy. I should bring my husband in for this question, but I think if you're doing a new kitchen, you might as well make it as smart as possible.
Right, for sure. Let's see. Should a seller look into upgrading to either sustainable fixtures or aging in place kind of universal design accessibility?
Um, you might have to help me with this one.
Okay. I think the aging in place, it's definitely helpful. What I see is largely in master bedrooms. So if you are in a certain area of in town living, and I even see this with my own parents who are in their mid 70s. When they redid their bathroom, they made sure not to have a lip that you had to
Mhm.
step into out of the master bathroom.
And master on the main.
Master on the main, adding, maybe a little handrail in certain areas to get out, even just adding railings on the front door steps. I think you're never going to go wrong with some of those elements, but I think specifically designing for that, you never know who's going to be interested in a house. It could be a first-time 23-year-old home buyer who has no interest in that. You just really never know. Or, Shauna, to your point, people who are coming in from out of town, you just don't know who that house is going to appeal to. So I don't think you want to overthink.
Well, and I have a lot of builders right now. They're making sure to do put elevator shafts in houses, even if they don't do elevators for a situation, because if you don't need an elevator, there are awesome storage closets. But if
Right.
you need one, then it's then you could get one in there to all the levels of the houses. So that's important for a lot of people too. It's good to have
Okay.
the option.
Right. How much does the flooring in a house matter? Do customers still prefer real hardwood floors, or what do you think about the laminate and vinyl alternative?
Laminate and vinyl in a basement is fine because you can't really lay hardwoods in a basement. I guess you could, but they don't. Typically you see the really nice tile that looks like hardwoods, or the nice laminate vinyl that they look good now. I feel like they make them look good, and those are great for basements. But in the main house, I think still hardwoods for sure.
Okay.
In the main bedrooms and living areas.
Okay. Let's see. I talk to people all the time who want to add on or renovate their homes, but are concerned about over investing now when they may not want to sell for another 3 to 5 years. What are your thoughts?
So I have clients that call me a lot about this, and they want me to come over and talk to me about what they want to put in the house, and they want to make sure they're not pricing themselves out of that house.
Mhm.
So I just think you just need to do as much research as possible on pricing, and if you spend 50,000 on a kitchen or 100,000 on a kitchen, you want to make sure you're going to get your money out of that and more. You might not get, even if you don't get your money back, at least you've been able to enjoy your kitchen, for the time that you're living there until you sell it. But you definitely don't want to overprice the house for the neighborhood. So I would just do your research or get your agent to help you with the research on the pricing before you do
Okay.
the big projects.
Okay. And then there's a question about wallpaper. Are we seeing more wallpaper, more color, more individualism in the decor choices, and are buyers okay with that?
Well, I mean, once you buy the house, people are doing that, and people love wallpaper and color. And in certain rooms, it's very popular. Like we mentioned before, like the dining room, powder rooms, and things like that. Um, but there's still such an individual preference. So, like I love Elizabeth's background right now, and I have those pillows in my house, but not everybody loves bright colors, and so it could deter people when they walk into a house. People don't realize how easy it is to change paint colors and wallpaper, but it does turn people off. So, if you're just looking at this from a resale perspective, then I would say don't wallpaper anything. If you want, I tell everybody to just make everything as neutral as possible when they're selling. But if you do it for your own enjoyment and then you go to sell your house, then I think it's fine. I don't know
Right.
if that makes sense or
There's
not, but
there's a fine line between overdoing it, and, gray, or just plain white. I think, to your point, the powder room is always the welcome change, especially if, the fixtures and everything, if it's a cohesive look,
mhm.
and dining rooms
I
are not.
love powder rooms. I'm like obsessed with powder rooms.
Yeah.
It could be so fun.
There are places to be bold, and then there are places, where you might walk into a home, with a red dining room and a yellow living room, and you may think, okay, this is super dated, but some people have the vision. For some people, it's a turnoff. I think it's all just a matter
Mhm.
of, you know, even just listening to agents like you, Shauna, is this going to be something that people is going to be a turnoff, or is this going to be, should we go ahead and proactively stage it to be a more neutral area?
Right.
Because this dining room could be an office or that
Well,
kind
if
of
it's a red dining room, I will definitely tell them to just go ahead and paint that,
thing.
because we don't want people to just focus on that.
Okay, and then let's see, staging. Does this add value, do you think it reduces the number of days on the market?
Okay, are we talking about vacant house staging, or are we talking about just staging with it, with what you already have? Okay, I'll just answer
Okay.
both those. So if it's a vacant house with nothing in it, then I think it's important either way. So I for example, I took somebody had their house listed with another agent for a while, and it was a vacant house, and they couldn't sell it. And I really, really, I just think it's so important to have furniture in a house, especially a staging company, because they do everything. It just looks very neutral, but it looks welcoming. And I had them stage the house before we put it back on the market, and we got under contract within 24 hours. So at the same price it was listed for before. So I'm a huge believer in staging vacant houses, and it's really not that expensive to do. My staging company charges it's around $3,000 for 3 months worth of furniture in the house, but it should sell way before the 3 months is over. It just makes people, you walk into a vacant house, it's just sad, kind of sad.
Right.
And you notice a lot more that you wouldn't notice if it was staged and you saw like pretty furniture and artwork and things like that. And then if it does already have furniture, let's say if it's a house you're living in right now, and I bring in a stager for every one of my listings, and she'll go around and tell you, give you a checklist and suggestions. And maybe that chair should be moved out of the house or to another side of the room. Or those little touches are so important, and it's important to have it all staged and ready to go. Or decluttering and things like that. It's just really important before you put your house on the market.
Okay. All right. Well, this is amazing. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you for
today,
having
Shauna.
me.
We appreciate it. We learned a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, I
Um,
hope so. But yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. And thank you.
all right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.